Hi, everyone. So great to be here from San Francisco. When you hear the word artificial intelligence, raise your hand if you get really nervous. All right. Raise your hand if you get really excited. Okay. And what about just neutral or not sure? All right. Interesting. I think we have a pretty positive view here. So artificial intelligence has been called the new electricity, the driver of the fourth industrial revolution, and it's poised to make a tremendous economic impact, adding close to $30 trillion to GDP by 2030. It's also getting embedded into our daily lives, invisibly and ubiquitously. Here are some of the ways that it's already being immersed all around us in our everyday situations. But one of the things that's really exciting about AI is how it can be applied to solving some of the most pressing challenges of the world today, whether it's around improving healthcare outcomes or precision medicine, addressing water issues, agriculture, climate change, and so many other exciting things that it can be applied to solve, which is probably why a lot of you raised your hands about being excited. And I'm so lucky because I get to see this positive potential for AI every day. I run a nonprofit called AI4ALL, which is helping to educate and support the next generation of diverse AI leaders. And I want to share with you the stories of 3 young women who are making this positive future for AI possible. So meet Stephanie. Stephanie grew up as the daughter of farm workers in a rural area in California in the United States. Stephanie learned about artificial intelligence in our AI summer camp program. She went back to her community and is now researching water quality issues using AI and machine learning. She also started AI clubs at her local high school and middle school. Meet Amy. Amy also went through our AI summer camp and found her joy and her passion for AI. She went to work at Stanford as a high school student researching how to improve surgeon precision and technique. Her research won her Best Paper Award at one of the largest AI conferences called NIPS, some of you might be familiar, and she's just in high school. Meet Becca. Becca was always passionate about social justice issues, and she found her love for AI in one of our AI summer camps. She went on last summer to work at MIT Media Lab as a research intern, working on research around AI in the criminal justice system. So these 3 young, amazing women, future leaders in AI, they show us a possible future for this technology when it's applied to solving some of the world's most pressing challenges in our communities, and is also being developed by people that represent our diverse society. Unfortunately, though, there are many barriers preventing more people like Stephanie, Amy, and Becca from even getting into the field or being involved in the first place. So the reality is that there's a tremendous diversity crisis in the field right now in AI. Secondly, we're seeing existing societal biases like racism and sexism creeping into AI and machine learning systems. Now, as we delegate more of our decisions, life-changing decisions, to AI systems, like who gets access to a job, who gets access to a loan, who gets access to parole, this could exacerbate existing equity issues that we're actually trying really hard to solve. So why would we be mirroring those same problems in our AI systems that we're building? So just to put some numbers to it, only 12% of AI and machine learning researchers are female around the world. In the United States, only 7% of bachelor's degrees in computing are awarded to women of color. There are many different examples of bias in AI, but I want to share one that's really profound. Has anyone heard of the gender shade study? A couple people raised their hand. So I would go to gendershades.org and check out this research by Timnit Gebru and Joy Bouliami out of Microsoft and MIT Media Lab. They looked at the top 3 widely used facial recognition systems that are being used today. And if you look at overall accuracy, how accurate is this at predicting someone's face? It looks pretty good, upwards of 90%. If you start to break it down by subgroup, the story changes, and it's much less accurate, especially for women of color. This is a huge issue because facial recognition and other AI technologies are getting embedded into law enforcement, airports, even hiring for jobs. And I'm afraid we're going to see more of these biases creeping into AI systems as time goes on. if those developing AI technologies are homogeneous, we won't be able to catch these issues in time. So this is a real problem. What do we do about this? Luckily, there's a lot of tangible steps that we can take now to address these issues. The first is making sure that we're testing, monitoring, and auditing these systems for bias and other issues. Companies are starting to do this and even have debiasing tools that they're using. There's also creating fairness and ethics industry standards around how we're using this technology safely, responsibly, and ethically. We're seeing some companies do this, and also interdisciplinary groups come together to try to create industry standards. And in fact, we'll hear from one of those leaders later today, John, IEEE AI and Ethics Initiative. There's also the Partnership on AI and many other groups that are working to do this. We also need to ensure that we understand how these systems are making decisions so that we can go back and understand their impact. But all of these are really, really critical, and there's more steps that we can take. But the most important thing that we can do is ensure diversity and inclusion from the beginning of this AI revolution. This is why we started my organization, AI4ALL. We're working to increase diversity and inclusion in artificial intelligence, not just the development, but also the research and the policy and education and all these ways that AI will touch our lives. We have several different initiatives that we run, but first and foremost, we're helping prepare future diverse leaders to lead in the field of AI. I'm really excited to also share with you that early next year, we're going to release the Open Learning Platform, which is AI literacy and education for everyone, for a global audience, offered for free. And this is really to make sure that everyone can have the tools to understand what this is and how it impacts them. What we've learned at AI4ALL and what the research and data proves is that if we increase diversity and inclusion in the artificial intelligence space, it's going to lead to better, more innovative products. It's going to lead to more profitable, effective companies and teams, and it's going to lead to a more diverse set of problems being addressed. So to put some numbers to this, if we increase diversity and inclusion in the tech sector alone, it will raise national GDP by $500 billion per year, and that's in the US. Secondly, a Stanford economist, Raj Chetty, I don't know if anyone's familiar with this research, but he looked at innovation in America and found that if we include women, minorities, and low-income people in the innovation economy from an early age, the rate of innovation could quadruple. Imagine what that number could be globally. So diversity and inclusion are good for business, and there's a lot of research that proves this, and it's also borne out by my own experiences. It's not just going to help mitigate some of the issues that we talked about before, but it's going to maximize the potential of this technology. So how do we actually do this tangibly and concretely? The first is early exposure. AI and other emerging technologies are becoming the new normal, so we have to make sure that we're teaching young people about these skills and building that literacy from an early age. That's not just in high school, but even starting earlier, as early as middle school and elementary school. The second is around hiring and making sure that from the start, as we're building teams that are interacting with technology or building this technology, that they're diverse from the beginning. And making sure that we're looking at potentially untapped sources of talent, and that we're also addressing issues of bias and discrimination in the hiring practices that we're using. There's so much amazing diverse talent out there, and I just wanted to share a couple of groups that are global groups that you can hire from right now. So Black in AI, Women in Machine Learning, Latinx in AI, Fast.ai, and of course AI4ALL as our young people that we're training go out into the workforce. These are just some of the places where there's amazing diverse AI talent, and there's so much more out there. But thirdly, and most importantly, we have to address retention, because the other two won't matter if we can't support the long-term success of diverse teams. So this is around creating inclusive cultures and making sure people feel welcomed and that they're supported in terms of their growth trajectory, advancement, and also that we're thinking about diversity in leadership as well as just, engineers and frontline workers. We also need to make sure we're holding ourselves accountable. We're not just tracking who we hire, but we're tracking how long they stay. There was a recent study called the Leaky tech pipeline that showed that companies lose $16 billion a year from people leaving due to issues of discrimination in the workforce. This is solvable, this is preventable, and we can take action now at these early stages of AI to ensure that we're hiring diversely and inclusively for the greater success of these technologies. Artificial intelligence is not a particular outcome. We don't know what's going to happen with it. Really, it's just a technological tool. We have the power to shape where it goes, how it gets used. And I believe that the best way that we can do that is ensuring diversity and inclusion. We don't want to miss out on the brilliant genius of people like Amy, Stephanie, and Becca, and all of the other talent out there that would otherwise go untapped. So I hope that we can work together to ensure AI can live up to its full potential. Thank you so much.